and welcome to the February eTech Town Hall meeting. We've been doing these sessions for about a year and a half now. I'm Joe Moreau, Vice Chancellor of Technology for the district, and this is part of an ongoing series of presentations that our Educational Technology Advisory Committee has asked us to do to make sure that people have an opportunity to stay in touch with projects and priorities and decisions about technology that affect us all throughout the district, and have the opportunity to provide some input. So today's topic is going to be a brief one, but an important one, I think. ETS, Educational Technology Services, my division, is rolling out a new IT project request system that we hope will accomplish a number of things. One is it'll make it easier and faster for people to make a request for an IT project of some sort, but it'll also give them ways to track the progress on that project. Because that's one of the pieces of feedback that I get pretty regularly. You know, I turned in my project request and I never really heard anything back from you guys. Are you working on it? How's that coming? Is it going to be ready by the date I needed it? Who's in charge? Who can I call to find out and ask questions, so on and so forth. So we think that this system will provide that functionality at your fingertips. And we also hope that some of the other related dashboard items to this system will give people an opportunity to understand what the total project portfolio is for ETS in serving the entire district, because everybody's always aware of things that they're working on or things that are being worked on near them, but they're not always aware of things that might be happening in another division or at the other campus or in central services. And so we think that the reporting dashboard on this will give people some visibility into what that whole portfolio looks like, and hopefully will provide some opportunities for people to collaborate in ways that they might not have originally thought about. So if you look, as we show the project dashboard, you'll be able to look and see who else is working on projects, what kind of projects are they working on, and if there's an opportunity for people to collaborate on that, then you can reach out to your colleagues and say, hey, I saw you working on the XYZ project, and you know, I think that would really have value in my area. I'd like to see if there's a way I might be able to collaborate with you on that. So with that, I'll dig right in. The new project request system will go live on Monday, February 1st, so a couple days from now. It'll show up in my portal on the employee tab. So if you just log into my portal, like so many of us do every day, go to the employee tab, and then you will see down on the lower right-hand side a new channel called New IT Project Request with the ETS logo. And there's really only 3 links here, so it's very simple. There is the new project request form, which I'll show you in a minute, and then there are 2 dashboards. One is a list-based dashboard with a lot of details, and the other one is a graphical dashboard to give you kind of a higher level view of the projects that are underway and how they fit in terms of a variety of categories, like in progress or complete or just about done or applying to one college or both colleges of the entire district or what have you. So with that, let me show you the form. The form is very short, very straightforward, very simple to fill out. So if you have a new project request and you're ready to submit that, you pull up the form. It'll ask you for just a few basic pieces of information, like which entity does this project apply to? Is it just for De Anza College? Is it for Foothill College? Is it just for, is it for both colleges? Does it apply for the whole district, including central services? So you can pick one of those and then fill in your name and phone number. And then who from your division, department, program is going to be the functional lead for that project. So whenever we do a project, we always assign a technical project manager to that from ATS, but we also need to have someone designated as the functional point person from the requesting department. So hi, come on in. You have to pick somebody who's going to be the functional lead for that. And then give us a date. When do you need this by? And so be as specific as you can. We may need to come back and negotiate that need by date with you depending on the ultimate scope and scale of the project. But tell us approximately when you'd like to have that project available. One of the things that both colleges have asked for is that for larger scale projects, and I'll talk about scale and scope in a minute, is that requesters have the opportunity to discuss those projects with the appropriate governance body at each of the colleges. And each college is going to do it slightly differently. So De Anza is going to have projects reviewed by their planning and budgeting teams, PBT as they call them, and they have a couple of different ones there. And so projects will go to those specific governance bodies for discussion and review. And I'm pretty sure that Foothill is going to do it through the President's Cabinet. So, and we'll be confirming that with both colleges, making sure that we're giving people the correct instructions on who needs to bless this at the college level before it goes forward. But, and you'll see it says here, have you discussed this with your technology task force? That was our previous process. Both colleges have now changed the name of their tech task force to technology committee, which is fine. And so we'll probably change the language on this to say something like, have you discussed this with the appropriate governance body at your committee, at your campus, and then have a little help link that says, for Foothill, do this, for De Anza, do this, for Central Services, do this. Then last couple of things here on the form, you know, give your project a title. You know, what's the summary of that? Is it implement new software to help students, or is it whatever you call it? It's kind of up to you. And then write a very brief description. I need someone to help me write a program that does X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, and the more information you can give us, the better. Some projects require funding, some don't. So for example, if it's something that we're going to do, let's say, as a modification to an existing system, chances are good it doesn't really cost us any out-of-pocket funds. It's really boils down to people's time, both functional people's time and technical people's time. So it may not require a funding source. However, if we're talking about acquiring new software, new hardware, if we have to contract for any kind of work, we need to know, who's going to pay that bill. Is it going to be paid by, the division VP? Is it going to be paid from, say, bond funds or triple SP money or whatever the case may be? We need to have some idea of how that bill is going to be paid. Here are two very important things that I want to spend just a minute or two on. Estimated time to complete and estimated cost to complete. And again, the key word here is estimated. We don't expect everybody to know exactly how long things take or exactly how much they cost, but you probably have some idea of what that cost and what that time might be. Is this a 1-week project? Is it a little tiny thing and it costs nothing? Or is it a big giant project that we have to spend $50,000 on software and it's going to take 6 months to implement? So there's a drop-down menu here that gives you kind of 4 choices. So the estimated time to complete, less than a week to 90 days, 90 days to 6 months, and more than 6 months. So you can give it your best guess as to where your project fits in terms of how much time you think it's going to take. And that's how much time you think it's going to take from the time we start the project, not from the time you submit the request. The other piece here is how much you think it's going to cost. Less than $5,000, $5,000 to $20,000, $20,000 to $88,000, and more than $88,000. These are actually really important numbers in the district, and I'll explain why. So there are a lot of folks in supervisory and managerial capacities that have a limit to their signature authority of $5,000. So they can sign a contract, a requisition, a direct pay request for up to $5,000, they're good to go. Lots of managers throughout the district can do that. Over $5,000 up to $20,000, that's a smaller group of people. So for instance, my signature authority, my individual signature authority is in the $5,000 to $20,000 limit. So I can sign a contract or a requisition or anything up to that amount of money. After that, after $20,000, that has to go to Kevin McElroy, our Vice Chancellor of Business Services. So anything above $20,000 needs a manager's initials, but ultimately Kevin has to sign off on that. And then $88,000 is the statewide bid limit for public agencies. So anything that is over $88,000 has to have a couple of things. One is it may need to go to bid. So depending on what it is we're buying, we may have to do an RFP, we may have to put it out to bid, going through a very formal bid process, evaluate those bids, choose a vendor based on bid responses. What we've been doing more of, and the state actually has supported this very aggressively lately, is to use previously negotiated contracts, either by the State Department of General Services or other community colleges or the California State University or University of California, or there's some other regional purchasing consortiums that we're part of. And so if we can find a contract that's been previously negotiated and competitively bid, we can use that contract to purchase something over $88,000 without having to go to bid, but it still has to go to the board. So the board has to approve anything over $88,000, whether it had to go to bid or not. So that's why we have those distinctions of those ranges of dollars. So you'll want to make your best guess as to how long it's going to take, how much you think it's going to cost, and then who in your direct line needs to approve it. So do you have a dean that needs to approve it, a vice president that might need to approve it? That will vary based on department and based on the campus. And then each college will designate a final approver. So I believe for Foothill, that will probably be Bernada Slater, our VP of Business here, and her approval will indicate that that's been discussed by the president's cabinet, and yeah, they're good to go, and they'd like to do that. At De Anza, it will be a little bit different, but that's okay. So, but we'll put out instructions so that everybody knows what that chain of approval is for each kind of request and for each campus. So that's the form. So it's really pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Really shouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to complete, and then click create, and then it goes into our tracking system and becomes a formal request that we then begin acting on. So with that, let me show you where that request goes. So there's some test data in our system. So this is one of 2 dashboards that you can take a look at. And let me just give you a quick orientation to the dashboard. So this is the list-based dashboard. It's divided into 2 sections. The blue section, which is your project request. So if you as a requester have submitted anything previously, your request will show up at the top, and you'll be able to see all the details of your request right up at the top. The green section is all the other requests that have been submitted by all other submitters in the entire district. Again, a lot of this is just test data. It'll be cleared out when we put the system into production next week. But to give you some idea of what a request looks like after you fill out the form, I'll pick one here. This is a test request. So this and you'll be able to pull this up and see this yourself. So this will give you a whole variety of information about who it's assigned to, who's in charge of reporting on it, who submitted it, what department they're from, who approved it, who was the final approver. For certain levels of projects, they may need to be voted on by the cabinet or the technology committee or the planning and budgeting team. If that happens, you'll see that here. When was it created? When was it needed? When was it approved? All of those relevant dates. And then you'll be able to look at something really cool, Up here, you'll see what the status is, so you know exactly where in the workflow your project is. Is it pending final departmental approval? Well, if it's sitting in somebody's queue and you want to call them up and say, hey, how come you didn't approve my request? I'm waiting to get started. You can follow up with that person. But you can also look at a graphical representation of the total workflow, and this will show you exactly where your request is in the overall workflow from initiation to completion, and you'll be able to know exactly what progress has been made on your request and where it stands. So that's, I think, a nice piece of visibility that people will appreciate having access to. There's a whole lot of information that also can get added to this, this essentially job ticket or project ticket. So for instance, if there are any, if as it's being worked on, people will create a log entry to say, well, today we did this and yesterday we did that, and we're waiting for approval of the functional specification from the requesting department. We got that back, now we're doing this. We're going to start testing on this day, so on and so forth. So you'll be able to see a log of all the work related to your request, so you'll know exactly what the status is, what's happening, when it will be ready for you to use or to test or what have you. You can also attach files to a project. So let's say, for example, part of a project was to purchase a new piece of software. So we may have gotten a proposal or a contract or a license agreement from the vendor. We might want to attach that to this project so that we keep all that documentation together, so we're not going, oh, did you sign that contract? I don't know. Did it get out of purchasing? I'm not sure. Where did it go? So it'll all be there together with all the details on the project. So there's a lot. And then, of course, if you need to contact somebody and say, hey, you know, why are we still waiting on this to be finally approved? You can figure out exactly who in ETS you need to contact, and they can give you some more information instead of having to call me or call Chin or call Sharon and say, what's up with this? And maybe we remember exactly what it is you're talking about. Maybe we don't, because we've got a lot of projects going on. You'll be able to get in touch with someone precisely and find out what the status of your project is. So a lot of information on the project form after you submit it that we add to it, that you may add to it as well. And it keeps all of that in one place, so nobody loses track of any of the details of a project. Some of the other things to know about, based upon those 4 categories of time to completion and cost to complete, we have essentially 4 workflows. So if it's and they're based on the scale of a project. So a mini project, as we call it, is something that takes less than a week and costs less than $5,000. So if that project comes in, those projects go directly to me. As long as it's been approved by the campus or by whatever the department is, then we don't vote on them, we don't prioritize them, we just assign them to somebody and get it on the work plan and start working on it. Projects that take between a week and 90 days and cost between $5,000 and $20,000, again, as long as they're approved by the appropriate campus or central services approver, then again, those come to me. I sit down with my management team. We meet weekly on Thursday afternoons, and we'll review the list of all the new stuff that's come in, and we'll try to figure out exactly where this can fit in our work plan. You know, the small project, the mini projects, those are kind of easy to squeeze in here and there. The small projects, which may be a little longer in time, we have to plan a little more specifically, but we'll prioritize those and get them into our work plan accordingly. Now for medium projects, so 90 days to 6 months and $20,000 to $88,000, or large projects, more than 6 months and more than $88,000, those, each of the colleges have asked us to go through a slightly more rigorous prioritization process for those, because generally speaking, they cost a chunk of money, and they probably take a good chunk of time, both technical and functional time. So what we have created, and we've actually been testing this for a couple years now, is an assessment document. So if you submit a project that has, say, a medium scale on it like this one, then I will assign that to one of the directors in ETS. They will make an appointment with the requester to sit down and review the project. They'll complete the assessment document, and the assessment document will help us generate 2 scores. One is what's called an impact score, meaning how many students, faculty, or staff does this project touch? Is it just for 10 people, or is it for 1,000 people, or for 10,000 people? So we'll get an impact score from that, and we'll get an effort score. How much effort is this going to take on behalf of the technical team as well as the functional teams involved with this? And so that gives us a pretty good idea of what our return on investment for that project may be. And that's one of the pieces of information that we'll provide to the appropriate governance body at each college to say, okay, we've evaluated this project with the requester. We agree that it'll take this much time and cost about this much money. And in terms of the amount of the impact it'll have and the effort it'll have, this is what we think the return on investment is. So they'll have that information to evaluate, and then can come back to us and say, okay, we don't want to do it, or we want to do it, but it's more important than A, but not more important than B. Or they might come back and say, this is really our top priority, and we need to move this to the top of the list and see what you can do to make this the top priority. So we'll do that assessment and work with the appropriate governance bodies at each campus to prioritize that. And all of that will then be recorded in the project form and then reflected in the dashboard here. So anyway, there's a ton of information on the dashboard. And then, again, one of the things that I hope people will do is from time to time, take a minute and just review some of the other projects in the dashboard and say, gee, I didn't know that the Foothill Library was going to start up a team site in Office 365. Let me see what that's about, because I might want one too. That might work for my department or for my project or my program, things of that sort. So my hope would be that people would use that as an opportunity to find synergies across the campuses or across the district to get more bang for our buck out of the things that we do for folks. The other dashboard that you'll see, this is a little more general in nature, is what we call the charts and graphs dashboard. So this gives you an idea of the total portfolio of projects that are underway at any point in time. You get a couple of pieces of data here that are pretty interesting. So so this is the status chart. So how many have been completed, how many are in progress, how many are waiting approval, how many have been rejected for whatever reason, how many are in committee review, being reviewed by ETS, so on and so forth. So you have a feel for what the mix of status is of all the projects. You'll be able to see over here, recently created chart. So this will give you an idea of the number of requests that have come in by month, and I'm trying to remember exactly what red and green significance. I think red is pending approval, green is been approved. But they'll tell you, give you an idea of what's come in the door in terms of the number of projects. Down here, you'll be able to see numerically, how many are mini projects, large, medium, small projects, so on and so forth. And then finally over here, you have some visibility into how many of these projects are pertinent to both of our colleges, maybe to just one of our colleges, or the entire district, including central services. So you'll be able to get an idea of how that total labor effort within ETS is kind of being spread out across the entities in the district. So that's the graphical dashboard for the for the project system. So that is about it.